Well, thank you very much, Mark, for that very, very great introduction. And I want to thank CIS and the Seminary Co-op for making this possible, but also especially thank all of you for being here. I'm really overwhelmed to see so many people, but because my main hope is to engage with you and spend at least a half hour on Q&A, I'm going to speak briefly, and what I'm going to do is introduce the book in a general way and then focus on just one section about the bans on the burqa in Europe. Once, not very long ago, Americans and Europeans prided themselves on their enlightened attitudes of religious toleration and understanding. Although everyone knew that the history of the West was characterized by intense religious animosity and violence, including such bloody episodes as the Crusades and the Wars of Religion, but including as well the quieter violence of colonial religious domination by Europeans in many parts of the world, and added to that of domestic anti-Semitism and often anti-Catholicism, and culminating in the horrors of Nazism, which implicated not only Germany but many other nations as well. Europe and the US, until very recently, liked to think that these dark times were in the past, and that religious violence was somewhere else, in societies more allegedly primitive, less characterized by a heritage of Christian values. Today, we have many reasons to doubt that complacent self-assessment. Our situation calls urgently for searching, critical self-examination as we try to uncover the roots of ugly fears and suspicions that currently disfigure all Western democracies. In April 2011, a law took effect in France according to which it is illegal to cover the face in any public space, from parks to marketplaces to shops. Although the law does not mention the words women, Muslim, burqa, or even veil, it was introduced by President Sarkozy as a ban on Muslim veiling, which, according to him, imprisons women and threatens French values of dignity and equality. The new law renders illegal both the burqa and the niqab. Although France is the first country to enact a full ban on the burqa in public space, similar restrictions are being considered all over Europe, and many countries and regions have adopted some type of restriction. On April 28, 2011, the Belgian Chamber of Representatives voted for a similar ban, although the law is expected to be challenged before the Constitutional Court. In Spain, in 2010, the Catalonian Assembly narrowly rejected a proposed ban on the burqa in all public places, reversing an earlier vote supporting a ban. Similar laws are in progress in Italy as well. In Switzerland, after a campaign designed to appeal to fears of a Muslim takeover, a popular referendum voted by 57% to ban the construction of minarets associated with mosques, despite the fact that very few mosques in Switzerland actually have minarets. There are only 4 minarets in the whole country out of 150 mosques, and that in consequence the architectural issue is clearly symbolic. In July 2011, terror struck Northern Europe. Norwegian zealot Anders Behring Breivik murdered approximately 76 people in twin attacks, bombing government buildings in Oslo and shooting young representatives of the Labour Party who had gathered on the island of Utøya for a youth camp. Breivik, who has confessed to the crimes but claims that he's not at fault, released on the day of the attacks a 1,500-page manifesto in which he outlined a theory supporting his actions based on the idea that Europe must fight against the scourge of Islamicization. He evidently has ties with a variety of anti-Islamic groups in both Europe and the US, and I go into that in the book. In the US, the legal side so far is somewhat better, owing to our long constitutional heritage of welcoming religious dissenters who express their conscientious commitments by dressing in non-standard ways. No bans on the burqa or the headscarf are proposed, but there have been numerous attempts to use zoning law to force out mosques, including locally here in DuPage County, and some ill-craft proposals to forbid the application of Sharia law by U.S. courts. And yes, there has been, as you all know, horrific violence. the recent attack on the Sikh temple in Wisconsin that left 7 people dead. The perpetrator seems to have been influenced by hate sites very much in the manner of Breivik. My book argues that political philosophy can help us think about how to deal with this time of fear and suspicion. What I advance in the book is a 3-pronged approach. The first prong is good constitutional principles based on sound arguments deriving from the idea of equal respect for human dignity. Here I study the history of debate about religious liberty, including the ideas of Roger Williams and John Locke, and then I look at how those ideas about equal respect for conscience and the burdens that imposes on government and public policy led to a constitutional tradition according to which government may not substantially burden an individual's free exercise of religion without an extremely weighty public interest. And I defend those ideas as a good basis for public policy in other nations as well. The second prong of my approach, on which I'll focus tonight, is the need for principled consistency and self-examination in our approach to the religions of other people. I note that many policies in this area lack Socratic self-examination, the basic virtue of trying to have a coherent and consistent policy across similar cases. And many are flawed, as we'll see soon, in a yet deeper way, a way that lies at the heart of Kantian ethics, namely people act in ways that give their own group special privileges, and they refuse to apply the same law to all people. So we'll go on and see that. But finally, the third prong of the approach, I argue that even when we have good principles and consistent reasoning, we still need something more, an active, curious imagination, interested in learning about the lives of others and in coming to see how the world looks from other points of view. I give examples of works of literature for both adults and I think particularly important children that promote this sort of understanding. Throughout, my common trope throughout the book is that I use the history of prejudice against Jews in Europe as a historical case that's good to think about as we face today's prejudices against Muslims. For 19th century anti-Semitism has many of the same unfortunate features, and its obvious wrongness in the light of history may guide us as we think about issues that are perhaps too close to us to be seen with the clarity that they deserve. But now, to the second prong and principled consistency. I'm going to focus here on the bans of the burqa, but arguments made there can certainly be adapted to other cases. What I'm now going to argue is that the 5 most prominent arguments in favor of banning the burqa are made inconsistently in ways that tacitly favor majority practices and burden minority practices. So they're not compatible with a principle of equal religious liberty for all, and thus, in turn, they're not compatible with the deeper underlying idea of equal respect for all people from which that principle springs. Indeed, all are cases of what we might, sort of turning the Christian tradition against itself, call cases of seeing the mote in your brother's eye while failing to appreciate the large plank that's in your own eye. For all target situations alleged to be present in Muslim communities while failing to note their ubiquity, and often in a far worse form, in the majority culture. So let's look at each argument in turn, asking whether each treats all citizens with equal respect. First is an argument from security. It holds that security requires people to show their face when appearing in public places. A second closely related argument, which I'm going to treat together with that, says that I'll call the argument from transparency. It says that the kind of transparency and reciprocity proper to relations between citizens is impeded by covering part of the face. Now, what's wrong with both of these arguments is that they are applied totally inconsistently. As you all know, or you'll soon come to know if you're new here, it gets very cold in Chicago. And we walk along the street, and I certainly walk, hat pulled down over ears and brows, scarf